In 1992, LEGO discontinued the Crusaders, also known as the Lion Knights. They were seen as the good guys in the castle theme. So with their retirement, that position was left open. Enter the Royal Knights, released in 1995. They followed the Crusaders' footsteps, and boy, did they have big shoes to fill. Before we get into the video, I hope you all are having a great day, and if not, I hope this video makes it a bit better. And if you enjoy this content, be sure to subscribe and leave a like to stick around. So who were the Royal Knights? The Royal Knights were a faction released in 1995 that took the good guy spot in succession of the Lion Knights, who retired in 1992. The Royal Knights had a red, white, and blue color scheme with a lion's head for their crest, one that castle fans would grow to be familiar with. They were the first faction to have a true king with King Richard. Side note, with the Forestmen having Robin Hood as their leader and the Royal Knights having King Richard, I wonder if LEGO was going for something there. In the Robin Hood story, King Richard was gone fighting in the Crusades. Maybe King Richard the Royal Knight was gone as a crusader and changed the crest when he got back, hence the gap from 92 to 95. But that's just my theory. What do you guys think? Alright, getting back on track, LEGO had the presence of kings before 1995, but the Royal Knights theme introduced that metallic gold crown piece castle fans all know and love. Did I say metallic gold? I meant chrome gold, and that crown could be found in 3 sets, one of them being $3.50. That set was the Royal King, which had King Richard on horseback. You also got a coveted chrome gold sword in the set, a piece that goes for a pretty penny these days. The Royal King set was perfect for army building in 1995. You could leave the crown piece off and get a bunch of mounted knights for only $3.50 a piece. If LEGO gave us a mounted knight for that amount of money these days, they could not keep enough on the shelves. If only Pick-a-Brick was a little bit cheaper, then maybe we could be competitive with this. I guess with inflation it's probably close. I would say it's probably around $10 a piece to build a mounted knight with weapons. But that was just one set. We'll go through the rest later. So let's get into some lore behind these Royal Knights. Well, it seems our Royal Knights had a lot of enemies. The LEGO catalog in 1996 shows them under siege at the hands of the Dragon Masters, even though they had previously been retired. King Richard can also be seen dueling it out with Magisto in a different catalog in 1995. Another enemy the Royal Knights can be seen fighting are the Dark Forestmen, and I know they're a separate faction from the Forestmen, but maybe this puts to rest my Robin Hood theory earlier. Even the Fright Knights had beef with these guys, as the Night Lord's Castle set shows a Royal Knight being taken prisoner by Willow the Witch. With all those enemies, it's a good thing the Royal Knights had their own castle, which brings us back to the sets. They had 7 sets total, 8 if you count the Space Castle value pack that featured the Royal Knights. Their biggest set was the Royal Knights Castle with 743 pieces. Following that up was the Royal Drawbridge, the King's Carriage, the Skeleton Surprise, the aforementioned Royal King set, the Thunder Arrow boat, and the Crossbow boat, which was released in a box and a poly bag. All 7 of those sets were executed well for the time, in my opinion. But for every one person that liked the Royal Knights theme, there were 5 to 10 that really disliked them. And why was that? Is that fair to this faction? Well, let's go over a couple reasons why I think people disliked this theme. One of the reasons that I could find was a lack of opposing factions. And you might think, Bronze, there was 3 enemies of the Royal Knights that you just mentioned. Well, that was part of the problem. A lot of LEGO Castle fans thought that they didn't have a true antagonist to go against. They were kind of fighting everybody that was out, whether it was the Black Knights, the Dragon Masters, the Dark Forestmen, and the Fright Knights. Another reason was I believe the Royal Knights were very overshadowed by their predecessors. I don't think they could ever step out of the shadow of the Lion Knights or another faction like the Black Falcons. You know, opinions definitely vary from what I saw on this, but it definitely contributes to why less people enjoy this theme. Now, this next reason surprised me a little bit, and it was the lack of army building potential. And the reasonings that a lot of people gave was this theme focused on named characters, and that limited the number of distinct minifigure designs within the Royal Knights. And it also would hinder the ability for large armies, unless you were able to collect other themes and get more unique headpieces or just the simple smiley face from other sets. But you guys already know that I disagree with that. I think there were enough of the helmets with the visors back in the day that you could just put them on top of each other, buy that Royal King set, an army build for days. Going back to the overshadowed points, a lot of older Castle fans really resented having a second Lion faction already. With the Lion Knights retiring in 1992, they were like, why not just bring them back? Why give us a whole new Lion faction, which they would give us two more later? While LEGO would eventually reintroduce the Lion Knights 30 years later, the confusion as why they even switched to the Royal Knights in the first place still stands. And now that we're 30 years out of the Royal Knights being introduced, I want to ask the question. Do you guys think that the hate on this faction, on this theme, was deserved? In my opinion, and if you guys have seen my Knights Kingdom 2 videos, you guys are going to think that I live for the controversial opinion. But as someone that grew up with Knights Kingdom 2 and didn't grow up in the 90s era castle, I don't see a problem with these guys. I actually have one of them sitting on my desk right now, and they're very good figures to look at. Having them compared to the Crusaders or the Wolfpack of the time, they hold up really well compared to them. I think the bright colors, which was another thing that Castle fans didn't like about this faction, was a good thing. They stand out, is what I'm trying to get at. They really stand out compared to the other factions of that time. To sum it up, I think the Royal Knights were just a victim of their time. If they were introduced in the 80s, I think they would have been received a lot better. But them being introduced smack dab in the middle of the 90s and the prime of Lego Castle, they are what many people perceive to be the downfall, the beginning of the end of the best years of Lego Castle. With all that being said, what do you guys think of the Royal Knights? Is all the dislike around them deserved, or do you think they're a lot better than people give them credit for? Let me know in the comments below. And that's going to do it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed, hit the like button, subscribe to stick around. If you made it to the end of this video, here's my face. Hope I'm meeting expectations with that. But I know my uploads have been few and far in between, but my life's slowing down. Bought a house. This is a brand new room. Just had a baby, my little girl, a couple weeks ago. So it's just been a crazy year, but we'll get the grind back together and start making some more Lego content for you guys. So if you guys liked today's video, leave a like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.